Okay, so now that we've got our nice cappuccino and we're sat in the lovely sun, which hopefully is going to last all of the day, but I really doubt it because it's the UK, and as we all know, the weather changes in a flash. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So for anyone who's not yet met me, my name's Rebecca and I run this channel for any students who are currently studying towards an accounting qualification, such as AAT or ACCA, ACA, SEMA Certificate, that sort of thing, or any individual who's working in finance or a small business owner who is struggling with the likes of Excel. So if you like this kind of stuff, please do consider subscribing, as it does help the channel grow, and it also helps YouTube to promote this channel out to other students as a free resource, so win-win. So today I thought I'd talk to you very quickly about study motivation, because I know there are times when it feels as if there is just no time at all to study, and when you do study you feel like you're not taking in all the information that you possibly should be. So you could be just staring at a piece of paper for 3 hours and not taking any of it in. So I thought I'd go through a few study tips that helped me when I was studying, and hopefully they'll help you as well, and just to give you that little bit of motivation. So when I was studying, one thing that I learned very quickly was that the individuals in my class were either morning people or not morning people, and everybody had a very specific way of learning. So there was quite a few different learning techniques that we all shared with one another of how we picked certain things up. Personally, I preferred getting up in the morning just an hour early, just so that I could have that 1 hour free time before anybody else got up, and I could go through as many questions as possible, and I could go through topic and the tasks at hand in the peace and quiet. Now, that doesn't always work for everybody, because you might have children at home, you might have, a dog that needs walking, that sort of thing. So if you're an individual who doesn't have that time to just sit there for yourself for an hour in the morning, then another thing you can do, which is something I did later on, definitely when I was studying ACA did this, was sometimes I used to read through the study text and I'd actually record that on a dictaphone, or even on your mobile. You don't need a dictaphone anymore. And then I would play that back whilst I was going on a walk, whilst I was walking the dog, whilst I was just trying to clear my mind a little bit. And sometimes that's an even greater help than just sitting there staring at a piece of paper, because again, you might not be taking that information in, and there has been studies that show that whilst you're not thinking about something, your brain is taking it all in, so in the background. And this is why, again, sometimes they tell you to study before sleep, because then your mind is filtering through the information for that day that you've looked at. So without your knowledge, you're actually learning things. I'd say that kind of learning is not as laborious as, say, just staring at the study text and going through the questions. So if you do find the likes of IFRS 16, or let's say, absorption costing or break-even analysis, that sort of thing, quite difficult at the moment, it might just be worth recording the formulas and playing them back. And specifically if you're driving to and from work, which I know a lot of us aren't doing at the moment, but you could use that time maybe going to and from the shop to pick up shopping, or picking up the children from school, just playing that information back, and that really does help. The other thing I'll say is that sometimes you get so bogged down in a chapter and you really might not be taking it in, but you might be one of these people who think, I can't possibly move on to the next section until I've done this section. But that can be counterintuitive, because there are specific sections in the book that sometimes are, again, a little bit more techy, or there's a lot of formulas to learn, and you're sometimes best to walk away from that and then to go on to something else and spend your time doing that to free up your mind again, so that in between, when you're having a coffee, or whether you're just taking 10 minutes here and there, you're letting yourself really think about the information that you've had a look at. And that can help with motivation as well, because you feel that sense of accomplishment that you've achieved something whilst you're studying, as opposed to sitting there staring at something that you don't understand and you're not quite getting, and you get yourself frustrated and then you can't think straight, and then you put yourself off altogether and just put the books aside for the day. So that can help a lot of the time. The other thing that used to really motivate me, and a little bit nerdy because I love stationery, and I'm yet to meet an accountant who doesn't love stationery, so I'm not sure if it's an accountant thing or I don't know, but sometimes when I was moving on to a new chapter or a new level or a new subject, I would just go out and buy a new stationery book. And something as simple as that, where I had, a fresh book, fresh pages, fresh highlighters, and I could, make it look all very pretty as I'm doing my notes, that can help sometimes and just boost your mood a little bit. And, study notebooks are only, between £5 and £10, so you're not going all out spending a lot of money on this sort of thing, but that can help, and it's only something really small. So yeah, even to this day, every time I get a new notebook, it puts a little smile on my face, and I use a written notepad at work as well, so yeah, that can help definitely. I'd say one other thing that can help with motivation is just to set yourself a few goals as well. So there is a channel, I think it's BBC Bite Size, for students who are studying GCSE, and it's called Bite Size for a reason. So effectively you're only supposed to do studying in small bites to again allow yourself to take that information in fully. So it's probably worth, if there is a large chapter in the book that you again are just struggling with, or you're losing a lot of motivation, or you're in between things and you've just received news that you failed your exam but you've started studying towards the next qualification, it can be easy to go back to the notes that you had and really say to yourself, look, I've got to spend the hours drilling down into this information, but you might not realise that that could be a downfall. What I'd say to anybody is, no matter how big or small a chapter, it's worth really getting into it for half an hour, really study, really look at the notes, really, test yourself, do a harder question, that sort of thing, in that half an hour. But after half an hour, walk away and do a 10-minute walk and just relax, because after those 10 minutes you're going to feel a whole lot better, a whole lot more refreshed, and you can come back to the next bit of the chapter or go back to the notes that you had when you were studying the last subject, that sort of thing, and it'll just give you that little bit of an extra boost. Now, in terms of goal setting as well, there might have been things that have happened in the last 12 months that have stopped you from taking an exam. For example, some AAT exam centres closed down. But what I'd say there is, don't beat yourself up. So I'm guilty of this as well. So if something doesn't go to plan, I will beat myself up about it, or I definitely have done in the past. And it's almost a skill you've got to learn, that, okay, fine, this has happened now, so we've got to deal with it. So for example, I failed my very first ACA exam, and I was livid with myself. I did take 3 exams at the time together, if I remember rightly, but yeah, I failed by 1 or 2 marks as well, which was just the worst. I'd almost rather have failed by a little bit more. But again, that's counterintuitive because I still would have failed, but either way, I absolutely beat myself up, and I kept telling myself, you can't do this, you're not smart enough to do this. Why are you even bothering if you're failing practically the first set of exams? And then obviously I had to speak to work about it and say, I failed my exam, and I was the only one who failed by a couple of marks. So you do feel down about it, but one thing you got to get good at is moving on from it and just saying, right, fine, this has happened. It wasn't what I wanted, or there's nothing I can do about it now because you've taken the exam. So in those circumstances, you need to just turn that off. Again, walk away from any negativity, go speak to family, friends, etc., and just, explain what's happened. Get it over with if you've got to tell your employer. So that is sort of one thing off your mind, and just move on and just say, fine, I'll have to learn what I did wrong, try it from a different angle maybe, and take it from there. But just know that to anybody in the Facebook group and anybody online who's studying, you're not alone. We've all been there. And I think a lot of the time it does take a bigger person to pick yourself up from the floor when you really do feel that low and you feel as if you can't carry on, or you're not good enough to take it, or you need a break, etc., to actually pick yourself up. And if anybody ever wants to talk about that in the group, feel free to do so, because I'm more than happy to talk about it. I've been there. It's not a nice feeling, but you will get there. You will pass your 18 in the end. And if there's any videos that I haven't covered on the channel, let me know, and I can always do a topic video of your choice. Just put that in the comment section below. But otherwise, I'm going to clock off. Again, please do consider subscribing. I hope you found the video a little bit motivational, and I hope it does help, and I shall see you on the next video.